Something shifted, quietly, almost unnoticed at first, but when people did notice, the reaction was immediate, and far louder than anyone at the palace may have expected. It didn't begin with a dramatic announcement or a controversial speech. In fact, there was no speech at all. And that, according to many royal observers, is exactly where the problem began. As the Easter season arrived across the United Kingdom, a moment traditionally associated with reflection, unity, and faith, many people noticed the absence of something they had come to expect, a message from His Majesty King Charles III addressed to Christians throughout the country. At first, it was just a murmur, a few comments here and there, quiet observations online. But within hours, that murmur began to grow. And soon, it turned into a much wider conversation, one that stretched far beyond social media and into mainstream discussion. Because in today's world, silence doesn't stay silent for long. If you are enjoying this video and want to see more updates and insights, don't forget to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on the latest news and discussions. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this story. Now, to be fair, not every monarch has marked every religious occasion with a formal message. Supporters of the institution have pointed out that even Queen Elizabeth II, throughout her historic reign, was selective in her public addresses. But many believe this moment feels different, not because of tradition, but because of timing. We are, after all, living through a very different era. There is a heightened sense of awareness, a deeper scrutiny of public figures, and perhaps more importantly, a growing expectation that leadership should feel visible, present, and emotionally connected to the people. And that's where the absence began to matter. Because for many, this wasn't about protocol or precedent. It was about reassurance, a simple acknowledgement during a time when people are, in many ways, searching for stability. A few words, a brief appearance, something to signal that the monarch is not just a figurehead, but a presence. And yet, that moment never came. But that wasn't the only thing that caught attention. Because just days before, a carefully produced video had emerged from Gloucestershire. It was elegant, polished, and unmistakably deliberate. The setting was beautiful, gardens in full bloom, a calm and inviting backdrop. The occasion? A promotional moment tied to the upcoming Chelsea Flower Show. Alongside the king were familiar and well-loved figures, including David Beckham, now increasingly associated with royal initiatives, and respected broadcaster and gardener Alan Titchmarsh. The visuals were striking. The tone was warm. Everything about it suggested careful planning and execution. And that's when the questions became sharper. If there was time to film, produce, and release that video, why not take a moment to record a short Easter message? It's a simple question, but one that, reportedly, has resonated widely. Not necessarily from a place of criticism, but from confusion. Because from the outside, it seemed like the opportunity was right there. And yet, it was missed. But inside the palace, things are rarely as straightforward as they appear. Decisions pass through layers, advisors, communication teams, long-standing traditions. Every word is considered. Every gesture is weighed. And sometimes, that process, designed to protect the institution, can create a distance between intention and perception. This, some suggest, may be one of those moments. Because while the intention behind the decision remains unclear, at least publicly, the reaction has been anything but. Critics have described it as a misstep. Others have gone further, calling it tone-deaf. And for supporters of the monarchy, perhaps the most difficult part is not the criticism itself, but the feeling that this could have been avoided. Because it didn't require a grand production. It didn't require a major address. Just a few words. And yet, those few words can sometimes carry the greatest weight. Now, it's important to acknowledge the broader context. King Charles III is navigating this role under unique and challenging circumstances. Taking the throne later in life, while reportedly dealing with health concerns, brings a level of pressure that few can truly understand. There is an expectation to lead with strength, but also an awareness that time and energy are finite. And in that reality, every appearance, every decision, becomes even more significant. Because this is not just about maintaining tradition. It's about shaping a new era. And that's where comparisons inevitably begin to surface. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, there was a sense of continuity that defined the monarchy, a rhythm that people grew accustomed to. Even during moments of controversy, there was a consistency in how the institution presented itself. Today, that sense of predictability feels less certain, not absent, but evolving. And with that evolution comes risk. Because in a more connected, more vocal world, even small gaps can quickly become focal points. Adding another layer to the conversation are comparisons with other public figures, including Sadiq Khan, who have acknowledged various religious events in their own way. These comparisons, whether entirely fair or not, have fueled a broader discussion about visibility, balance, and representation. And once those discussions begin, they rarely stay contained. They grow. They expand. They take on meanings beyond the original moment. And that brings us to a deeper question. What does leadership look like today? Is it defined by tradition, by consistency, by visibility, or perhaps by something more subtle, the ability to connect, even in the smallest ways? Because this situation, at its core, isn't just about one missed message. It's about perception. And perception, in the modern age, can shape reality. Behind the scenes, it is being suggested that conversations are already taking place. Quiet discussions, careful reflections, an attempt to understand where the disconnect occurred. Behind the scenes, it is being suggested that conversations are already taking place. Quiet discussions, careful reflections, an attempt to understand where the disconnect occurred. Because in institutions like this, every moment is a learning moment. Every reaction, a signal. And perhaps this is one of those moments that will be remembered not for what happened, but for what didn't. Because sometimes, it's not the grand gestures that define a leader. It's the small ones, the brief acknowledgements, the simple words that remind people they are seen. And when those moments are missed, the silence doesn't just fade away. It lingers. It echoes. And it leaves behind a question that is far more difficult to answer than it might seem at first. In a time when every detail is noticed, every action analyzed, and every absence questioned, can the monarchy afford to stay silent when people are listening so closely? Or is it in those very moments that its voice matters most? If you enjoyed this video and want to see more updates and insights, don't forget to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on the latest news and discussions. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this story.